Headed to SoFi Stadium? Ride the Culver City Bus Line 99, the SoFi Express. Just $2 base fare for a round trip from Westfield, Culver City on weekend game days. We're hiring too. Learn more at culvercitybus.com or call 310-253-6500.
Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here. We're doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after Guy Benson at 3 and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz with my pal Randy Wang at 5. And I'll be back on the air at 6 o'clock this evening with top-ranked, the number one homeless organization here in the Los Angeles area. That is the Union Rescue Mission. I'll be broadcasting live tomorrow from the URM Over the Edge event, too. Go to urm.org. I'll be rappelling off the top of the 25-story Universal Hilton Hotel. Go to urm.org for more about that. Right now, it's Mottek On Money, the voice of business news here in Los Angeles, live on the air on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com, and, of course, the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. Following some breaking news here this afternoon, looks like a TikTok deal has been just announced and signed by President Trump. We'll have the latest on that. Also, another headline that just crossed, former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted on 2 of 3 counts sought by prosecutors, 1 count of making false statements and 1 count of obstruction of justice, just days after the president issued a public demand for his Justice Department to act now to bring prosecutions against Comey and other political foes, according to various sources. We'll follow that story as well. Meanwhile, stocks pulling back some more from the record highs hit over the past week. Some more money coming off the table for the third session in a row as Wall Street weighed an unexpected drop in jobless claims and a sharp upgrade in economic growth. Now, in a positive sign for the job picture, jobless claims released today showed the number of people in unemployment lines dropped to 218,000 for the week ending September 20th, and continuing claims also fell slightly. Meanwhile, the second quarter GDP number rose to an annualized rate of 3.8%, rebounding from a 0.6% decline in the first quarter and well above analyst estimates for a 3.3% rate of growth. Tomorrow we'll be getting what we're told is the Fed's favorite inflation gauge, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, will be out first thing tomorrow morning. The Dow coming in for a closing loss today of 174 points, the S&P 500 down 33, and the NASDAQ down 113 points. The yield in the 10-year note has suddenly shot higher to 4.17%. Gold and silver continue to shine. Right now, gold is just below $3,800 an ounce after popping above $3,800 earlier this week, and silver has moved above $45 an ounce, right now at $45.22. Gold is up something like 40% this year to date, while silver is up 55% so far this year. We're watching what's happening with Oracle stock, which has been all over the place lately, pulling back $17 and change today at $291 and change. NVIDIA, which hit a record high earlier this week, up 72 cents today to $177.69. Intel moving higher today as investors cheered the deal with Apple, it looks like, in order to work closer together. We'll take a closer look at that as well. Big news in Washington, the American Dream is being celebrated at a brand new center that just opened on Pennsylvania Avenue, right across the street from the White House, the Milken Center for Advancing the American Dream. I'll talk about the new center and other important matters later this hour with prominent Los Angeles attorney Richard Sandler, Executive Vice President of the Milken Family Foundation, author of the book Witness to a Prosecution, The Myth of Michael Milken. He's also served longtime chair of the Jewish Federations of North America and Greater Los Angeles. Richard Sandler will be joining me live later this hour. And better hurry if you want the electric vehicle tax credit. It's about to expire in the next few days. We'll get an update on that and all things cars with Lauren Fix, our go-to car expert, editor-in-chief of Car Coach, and the co-host of the Total Car Score podcast. But first, on your money, the markets, the economy, and the whole works now. Joining us live, veteran market strategist Michael FARR, chief market strategist at Hightower Advisors and president of the investment firm FARR Miller in Washington, author of numerous books, including A Million Is Not Enough, How to Retire with the Money You'll Need, and Restoring Our American Dream. Michael FARR, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Frank, it's always great to be with you, and I always learn when I listen to your show, so this is terrific. I'm sure everybody else does too.
Well, thank you very much, Michael FARR, for that, and it's always a thrill to have you with us here. It's been a while since we chatted behind live microphones. We've seen record highs this year, a string of record highs, and then a bit of a pullback this week. Give us your view of the market action here.
Market's still trading near all-time highs, Frank. Valuations are high. Things have been going well. The economy continues to expand, and the GDP numbers for the second quarter were strong. A number of numbers seem to be kind of slowing a little bit. Inflation seems to be ticking up a little bit, but that personal consumption number that was released today was higher than expected, higher than the initial report on a revision. And that shows that Americans are still spending money. When 2/3 of the economy is driven by the consumer, you have to pay close attention to it. They're still spending. So I think, Frank, people still feel good, but prices are high, valuations are high, and I think it's probably a bad time to be too complacent. But at the same time, I don't think it's any time to panic either.
On the Air Live with Michael Farr, and we did hear from the Fed chair last week when they cut rates by a 1/4 percentage point, and he gave his assessment of the economy and no guarantees that there'll be a couple more rate cuts this year. And he gave another speech a couple of days ago where he did indicate, in his view, equities were highly valued, I believe he said. What's your reaction to what the Fed chair had to say recently and the market apparently reacting to those latest comments?
In the recent report from the Fed, I thought it was just a perfect balance of just enough of everything to probably disappoint sort of everyone. There was something disappointing in it for everybody. Markets wanted to hear that there would be more done, there'd be more cuts, there'd be lower rates, and it would happen faster. But they got a little bit. I think if they had seen those greater cuts, economists would have been worried that it could have sparked inflation. The Fed is saying that they still want to see more data to determine whether tariffs are actually going to drive inflation. The effect from tariffs so far has been relatively muted. A little more time, they think, will tell them whether the muting is for real or whether it's just a bit of a delay. I had Dr. Jay Bryson on my podcast on the FARRcast this morning. He's a former chief economist from Wells Fargo, and he worked at the Fed, PhD economist. He said that he thought it was probably a delayed reaction still coming, and we'd see some of that more inflationary data in future numbers. Now, he said it's kind of a one-time thing because they don't keep raising those tariffs. So once markets are able to digest it, you move on. So there's a lot of wait and see going on, I think. But as we wait and see, and they say in the fish market, Frank, you ignore the yelling and the screaming and you pay attention to the price of fish. Price of stocks is pretty high. At 24 times earnings, price to earnings multiple, that's expensive. 22 point something times next year's estimates, that's high. So caution warranted. Still being driven a lot by the Mag 7, but and their performance has been fabulous. Maybe we have to look at the other 493 stocks a little more closely.
On the Air Live with Michael Farr, and those tech stocks getting new attention, including Intel. Looks like we're all shareholders of Intel now, based on the government stake in Intel, and now Intel and Apple appear to be developing a beautiful friendship here. Apple stock moving higher today, up about $4.50 to $2.56 and change, and Intel moving higher as well, up nearly $3 at 33 and change. What about this reported
Frank,
deal? Go right ahead.
Okay, Frank. This is where I have to ask you a question because you've been doing this a long time, and I have enormous respect for your opinion, as you know. Don't you think? Doesn't it feel a little weird to you that the government's actually owning these stocks? I mean, that we all have an interest in these stocks, good or bad. It's just not something we've ever done before. And I've got to tell you, it gives me the heebie-jeebies when the government gets too much involved in private businesses, because now the government has an interest in seeing those share prices go up, right?
Absolutely.
And they're also responsible for antitrust and other enforcement and regulation. Feels weird to me. You?
Yeah. Well, certain things you have to judge with your stomach, and you're absolutely right. There is something unusual about all this, and talk about additional stakes in other companies. I guess the idea here, from what I understand, is to support successful companies or to further the success of companies. But it's interesting to see what's happening. Of course, we saw something like this back during the financial crisis days when banks were supported during the financial crisis. But you're right, this is a very unusual situation. And now Apple and Intel apparently talking some sort of a deal. What about Intel stock here? Would you be taking a stake here in Intel? And what about Apple?
There's been a huge move in both, right? I mean, Apple so far this year. Let me see. Well, I'm taking a look at just the weightings in the S&P 500. Apple is now 6.6% of the S&P 500. The Mag 7 year to date up 24%. So they've performed really well. Intel has performed really, really well after this recent deal. So I think I'd probably be cautious. Now, I own Apple. Some folks in my firm do indeed own Intel. To disclose that, would I be buying it today? I feel like I'd be patient on both of them today. I tend to be a very patient investor. I do everything very, very slowly, and I tend to hold every stock a really long time. It's nothing for me to own a stock for 6 or 7 years. Buy a really good company, and then let it execute, let it earn, let it grow. Like Warren Buffett says, you have to trust management. When you stop trusting management, you sell the company. Otherwise, I like to stay invested, and I don't buy and sell very much. I don't have to pay as much in capital gains by just holding and letting my money compound as long as I have some good stocks in the portfolio.
On the Air Live with veteran market strategist Michael FARR, and congratulations on your new podcast, the FARR Cast. And what about gold? Last time we spoke, it was a lot cheaper than it is today. It popped above $3,800 this week, and silver all of a sudden about $45 an ounce, the highest in 14 years. What's happening here with these precious metals?
Yeah, that's weird too. I think, Frank. Because gold is a measure of a bunch of different things, as are precious metals, including silver. One of them is inflation. So just very, very simply, the gold that was selling at $3,000 an ounce not that long ago, the same ounce of gold is costing, $3,700 an ounce. So it's a lot more expensive. It takes more dollars to buy that gold. If you think that inflation is going to go higher, then these precious metals should go higher too, priced in those dollars. The value of the dollar actually drops. It takes more of them to buy the same amount of stuff. Now, there's something else going on with gold and some of the other precious metals, and that is other sovereign governments, including China, have been increasing their store of gold. And then finally, I don't know if you saw this, Frank, but this one kind of caught me off guard. Morgan Stanley is discussing whether they're going to change their recommended asset allocation from the age-old 60-40, 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds, to 60-20-20. 60% in stocks, 20% in bonds, and 20% in gold. If we have the average investor all of a sudden trying to add 20% of their portfolio to gold, that will create a fair amount of demand in and of itself and also drive the price of gold higher. So I'm not sure which of these factors is doing it, whether it's inflation, whether it's foreign governments, or whether it's a new allocation. But there doesn't seem to be a lot that's depressing the price of gold out there or pushing it lower. It doesn't seem to have too many headwinds.
And then you got geopolitical concerns on top of all that. I did see that report regarding that rethinking of the 60-40 portfolio. What are your thoughts about the 60-40 portfolio at this time?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, this is where I feel so stodgy, Frank. I really do. But every time someone wants to tell me it's different this time, I about jump out of my chair because it's rarely ever different this time. That we might go through an inflationary period is certainly possible. Dr. Bryson this morning on the FARRcast said he thought maybe the chance of a recession was as high as 33% right now. Not a real concern, but not zero. And an exogenous event could sort of tip the scales, and perhaps combining something like that with a government shutdown could put greater pressure on the economy and lead to lower growth, a consistency of a couple of quarters of lower growth, which means recession. And stocks don't do well in recession. I guess just when you're at all-time highs, you always remember the old rule that you buy low and you sell high. And under no one's definition I've talked to in months is this considered anywhere near low. So I think caution, and make sure you understand the risk in your portfolio. Make sure if you have an investment plan and you know what your risk tolerance is, it's important just to check and make sure that you're still within that risk tolerance. And if you are, you don't need to do a thing. But sometimes risk can creep up at odd times. It's always worth checking.
Speaking of risk, we're reminded this week that crypto goes up and it goes down. Bitcoin, a lot of air coming out this week, down about 3,500 here. I'm checking here, down to around 109. It got below 109 earlier, I believe. Ethereum at around 3,900. And the list goes on. We talked to the biggest fans of crypto here, as well as the harshest critics. What are your thoughts on crypto here now?
I don't get it. I still don't get it, and I own it. Okay, I don't get it, and I own it. And it's mostly because of FOMO, and I don't understand exactly what's going on. Why? Is it because I'm a boomer and stodgy? Well, perhaps I am a boomer and I can be stodgy, but I've studied markets and stocks for 40 years, and I've studied economics, and I've owned them, and I've been investing other people's money professionally for 40 years. So I look for things like intrinsic value. I look for a book value. I look for an anything value. I look for, if you're going to talk to me about a currency, I want to know that is there a fiat currency? Is it backed by gold? Is it backed by dollars? Is it backed by... Without that, I don't know how to put a price on it. So was it too high at $124,000 per Bitcoin? Was it too low at $90,000 per Bitcoin? I guess it was too high because now it's 110. Was it too low at 90? I guess it was too low at 90 because now it's 110. Other than that, I don't have any other way of judging Bitcoin, but the pure adoption of it sure makes it look like it's here to stay.
Well, thank you for your brutal honesty and assessment there, and yeah, I'm with you. That's as far as reliable analysis. We again talked to the experts on it, so you'll have to listen more often to this program. They can explain it certainly better than I can. But at this point, Michael Farr, let me ask you: any specific places where you are putting money now and/or taking it off the table?
Yeah, well, certainly I will trim those things that have gotten too large in my portfolio. And I am looking, and I have a list of names, frankly, that I am looking at to add. But I'm doing something that I tell people not to do, and I'm going to confess on your show that I'm doing it. Things are high enough right now that I'm just going to be patient. I have enough of my money invested. I'm within my parameters. I would add to certain names here on a pullback, but geez, I'd feel a lot better if I could see that pullback. We've just run so far, so fast. I want to be patient.
Have you had a chance to see the Center for the American Dream in Washington? We'll be talking to one of the top people involved with the grand opening there last weekend.
I'm so excited about it, and I think, as I said in my book, Restoring Our American Dream, The Best Investment, the American Dream is the foundation of the U.S. economy. It creates jobs. The ability to do things in this country that don't occur anywhere else in the world, and that people can come and through their own hard work and talent and tenacity can come and create businesses and dreams and jobs and create an economy that's as vibrant as ours. We've got to focus on it. God bless Mike Milken and his family, and I know him, and he's gotten a bad rap on a lot of different things. Boy, he's also done some great things with his foundation and other things around the world. He should get great credit for this.
That's wonderful. I hope he's listening today, as you do. I appreciate it very, very much. Michael Farr, veteran market strategist, chief market strategist at Hightower Advisors, and president of the investment firm Farr Miller in Washington, author of numerous books, including Restoring Our American Dream. And congratulations on your podcast, FARRcast. Michael Farr, thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
You're the best, Frank. Thanks so much for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon. And let's check the freeways now here on 790 KBC. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KBC. Good afternoon. Stocks pulling back some more from the record highs we had hit earlier this week. The Dow down 174 at 45,947. The S&P 500 down 33 at 6605. And the NASDAQ down 113 back to 22,385. The yield on the 10-year note is back up to 4.17%. Intel's chief executive has been hustling to secure investments and customer commitments needed for Intel's comeback, according to the Wall Street Journal. Among the companies Intel has approached about investments or manufacturing partnerships now are Apple and Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, according to people talking to the Journal. Those efforts were already underway before President Trump showed an interest in Intel last month, but have gone into overdrive since the U.S. took a 10% stake in it, according to people familiar with the discussions. The procession of headlines the Journal notes has already kindled a growing sense among investors and tech world peers that Intel could shed its has-been status and return to relevance. Intel stock today up nearly $3 at 33 and change, and Apple up more than $4 at 256 and change. The price of gold continues to hover at or near all-time highs, just below $3,800 an ounce, right now at $37.78. Silver at a 14-year high at $45.22. Platinum above $1,500, moving higher again today to $1,566 and change. Crude oil is back above $65 a barrel. Bitcoin under pressure today at $109,940. Ethereum at $39.45. Solana down to $200, and Doge at 23 cents. And now the latest news on 790 KABC.
Headed to SoFi Stadium? Skip the traffic and ride the Culver City Bus Line 99, the SoFi Express, your direct $2 base fare round-trip ride from the Culver City Transit Center at Westfield, Culver City. Buses run on weekend game days every 20 minutes starting 3 hours before kickoff, with return service beginning at the start of the third quarter. And guess what else? We're hiring. Join our team and help keep the community moving. Visit culvercitybus.com or call 310-253-6500 for info on your next ride to the game or maybe your next job.
Hey Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.
Football season is here.
Oh, man.
Believe has the podcast to enhance your football experience.
We got to embarrass them into doing things the right way.
From the pros.
Definitely one of the most interesting quarterback rooms ever.
To college.
Michigan is set at 8.5 wins.
To fantasy.
If you feel that way, why didn't you trade him?
Become a better fan and listen to the football podcasts from Believe.
Oh, man.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC. The American Dream is being celebrated big in Washington thanks to financier and philanthropist Michael Milken. The American Dream is being celebrated as a beacon to the world at a brand new center that just opened on Pennsylvania Avenue right across the street from the White House, the Milken Center for Advancing the American Dream. And joining us live now is prominent Los Angeles attorney Richard Sandler, Executive Vice President of the Milken Family Foundation, author of the book Witness to a Prosecution, The Myth of Michael Milken. He has also served as longtime chair of the Jewish Federations of North America and Greater Los Angeles. Mr. Sandler, thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
It's always great to talk with you, Frank. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for this honor, and congratulations on the opening of the new center. Let's start there. A lot to talk about, certainly, with so much going on in the news, but you were present for the grand opening. Tell us all about the new Milken Center for Advancing the American Dream.
Well, it's the culmination of over 10 years of very hard work to create a beacon, as you said, of hope in our nation's capital, right across the street from the White House and the Treasury Department. It's a place where the public can visit starting last Saturday. I think we had several thousand people go through there over the weekend already and can learn stories from thousands of people just like them of what their American dream is and how they realize that dream. The center is based upon 4 pillars: education and the educator, and what it means to people, and how education could contribute to a person's American dream, fulfilling their dreams, and is a great equalizer if done properly. And we salute educators and those that have made a difference in people's lives. Medical research on public health, as we have made life longer and more comfortable. Obviously, without health, nobody is going to realize any dreams. Entrepreneurship, opportunities, why people come to this country still today, and why people in this country enjoy their dream, because they can turn their dreams into action and access the capital, because the way people turn their dreams into action is by getting support from others. So that's a mouthful there, Frank, but that's what the center is about. There's all kinds of movies, interactive exhibits, photos, and stories that are really uplifting and I think leave people with a real positive outlook as they leave the building.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. And you're at a historic location, right? A beautiful renovation of historic buildings there. That's all part of the new center there. Tell us about that.
Well, the buildings are, they're old bank buildings. One of them is the old Riggs Bank, where every single president, I think up until Truman or Eisenhower, had an account in a safety deposit box in that bank. The Freedman's Bank that Abraham Lincoln established right after emancipation, is right next door to where these buildings are. And I think one of the reasons it took us a long time to get to where we are is they are historic buildings. We wanted to preserve them, and we're required to preserve a lot of them in a way that really gives you a different type of feeling when you go through those buildings today.
Sounds absolutely majestic and wonderful, and certainly want to get there as soon as possible. All the pillars you mentioned certainly are important to Michael Milken, the great financier and philanthropist Michael Milken, who you worked with for many, many years, and also wrote the book, Witness to a Prosecution, The Myth of Michael Milken. Tell us, he was there too. Tell us how he's doing, and you must be very thrilled about the culmination of all this.
Mike is doing great, and I think he was thrilled because, he's trying to establish something that gives people a hope and a positive feeling about this country and what's available to them. It shows how so many people have come to this country. There's different exhibits. There's what they call a holodeck, which kind of, I would say, makes us use all of our senses as we see stories of people who have come to this country and have fulfilled their dreams in this country, whether it's somebody that came here as a nurse and became a very well-known doctor, somebody who through the influence of an educator became an astronaut and went into space, or somebody who just had an idea living on an island who loved to surf, of creating their own surfboard and their own company, which then had different outlets throughout the country. So there's a lot there going on there. Mike, I think, is very proud of what we've established, but Mike always looking to the future and how we're going to make it better and making sure that as many people as possible can experience what we hope that they will have an opportunity to experience.
That sounds wonderful. Again, we're talking about the Milken Center for Advancing the American Dream at its new location right across the street from the White House in Washington, D.C. Turning to another important matter that you're focused on, what's happening in the Middle East as the October 7th second anniversary of the Hamas terror attack approaches and the war continues. Give us your thoughts on this horrific anniversary that's approaching and your thoughts about what's happening there at the moment.
It's really hard to put into words how painful this last couple years have been, both when you see what's happened to so many people and how many lives have been affected in that part of the world and in Israel. The fact that hostages are still being held almost 2 years later. It's very disturbing. The fact that a terrible, horrific video of a hostage named, Aviatar David was released last month, showing him emaciated, digging his own grave, and there was almost no reporting on that, Frank. With all the reporting of the pictures of children and Israel did this and Israel did that, there was only one newspaper that I'm aware of in America that even put that picture in its newspaper, and that was the New York Post. With all the terrible things that are going everywhere else in the world, it is very disturbing to me to see the attacks that are happening on the Jewish community, on the state of Israel, which is trying to defend itself and prevent these kind of horrific things from ever happening again. So, this is a much longer conversation, but that's sort of some of my initial thoughts in trying to answer your question.
I know you've led many discussions at the various Milken conferences on anti-Semitism and what's happening in the Middle East. And, of course, President Trump putting his foot down on anti-Semitism on college campuses and around the world and supporting Israel in wiping out Iran's nuclear program. It certainly has been an epic year under his administration and certainly a big change in U.S. policy.
It really has been, and I can't, express how thankful I am to the president and his administration for identifying what a serious problem this is, and not just for one people, but for our country in general. This is an attack on our way of life, on everything we have stood for, and I very much compliment and admire the administration for stepping up and trying to make a difference and doing something about something that is going to affect all of us.
And we're seeing the news today that more than 1,200 entertainment industry leaders have now signed an open letter today supporting Israel and chastising fellow entertainers for their call a couple of weeks ago to boycott the Israeli film industry. What's your reaction to that news today?
Well, as I said before, I just don't understand why this is something that these people in Hollywood are focusing on instead of focusing on so many terrible things that are happening in the world. It's just interesting that you say it's 1,200, okay? It was 1,200 Israelis that were massacred, children, elderly people, not to mention the over 200 that were taking hostages almost exactly 2 years ago. And ever since that time, I have seen so much criticism from so many entertainers and people in Hollywood who really don't even understand the history of what's happened in that place, okay? But they're so upset about that. Yet during the same period of time that we're talking about, Frank, there's been 400,000 people that have died in the Sudan Civil War. 400,000. 12 million people displaced. 25 million Sudanese are facing hunger. Children are dying there. I haven't seen anyone raising any issues about that. Yet the state of Israel, a small country in the Middle East, an ally of the United States, a democratic country, is trying to defend its people the best way it knows how to make sure a massacre like that never happens again. And it would just seem to me that these people that are trying to boycott other entertainers or people in the entertainer industry could spend their time more productively and trying to use whatever influence they have to make the world better rather than trying to tear down a country trying to defend itself.
Mr. Sandler, thank you very much for taking this call. It's been an honor to speak with you. We wish you and Michael Milken and the entire Michael Milken family and your family all the very best, a happy and healthy new year, and look forward to speaking with you again very, very soon. Again, congratulations to everyone there for the grand opening of the Milken Center for advancing the American dream right across the street from the White House in the nation's capital. Thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Frank. All the best.
Thank you very much. That is Richard Sandler, Executive Vice President of the Milken Family Foundation, author of the book Witness to a Prosecution, The Myth of Michael Milken, who served longtime chair of the Jewish Federations of North America and Greater Los Angeles, live with us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC.
Headed to SoFi Stadium? Ride the Culver City Bus Line 99, the SoFi Express. Just $2 base fare for a round trip from Westfield, Culver City on weekend game days. We're hiring too. Learn more at culvercitybus.com or call 310-253-6500.
Hey, Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.
Football season is here.
Oh, man.
Believe has the podcast to enhance your football experience.
We got to embarrass them into doing things the right way.
From the pros
Definitely one of the most interesting quarterback rooms ever.
to college
Michigan is set at 8.5 wins.
to fantasy.
If you feel that way, why didn't you trade him?
Become a better fan and listen to the football podcasts from Believe.
Oh, man.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues, 790 KBC. Good afternoon. Better hurry if you want to get that electric vehicle tax credit. Say goodbye to the $7,500 EV tax credit soon. It's about to expire. Let's get an update now from Lauren Fix, editor-in-chief of Car Coach Reports and co-host of the Total Car Score podcast. Lauren, thank you very much for taking the call on this afternoon.
Yeah, this is a big change. As of the end of the month, which is coming up very quickly on Tuesday, will be your last opportunity to purchase an electric vehicle and get the $7,500 tax credit or the $4,000 tax credit if you're looking at a used EV. So the only good news is if you place an order, let's say you're ordering something custom like Ioniq 5 and you want a certain color or a certain combination, as long as that order is placed by the end of business on the 30th, you'll be fine. October 1st hits and that tax credit goes away. And there is other options, but the one thing to keep in mind is if you want to take advantage of that. Now, the state of California said they were going to come up with an option to replace this tax credit, but Gavin Newsom has said that they're not going to be supporting that now, and that is brand new. He basically said during the week, of course, all these things are not publicized as much as the tax credit going away, but he basically betrayed everyone by saying he was going to support people who wanted electric vehicles. But the mandate's still in place for the state that by 2030 you have to have an electric car, but you will not get support from the state. So this is your last chance. However, if you purchase a vehicle that is built in the United States, the One Big Beautiful Bill, or the Bill Act, I'm calling it, to make it easy for everyone, you can save thousands of dollars on your next car, and it has to be built in the U.S. So there's quite a few cars from Acura to BMW, including Tesla, Lucid, of course, and Rivian that are built here in the United States. You'll still be able to get a credit. It'll be just a little different. You'll need to save that vehicle identification number and put it into a tax return called a 1090Q or 1098Q. And then at the end of the year, you'll be able to take that tax money off. And it depends how much you make. So it's important to note that if you make under $100,000 and you're single, you're in good shape, you'll get the full credit. And that goes up to $150,000 and it tapers off. If you make over that, then you're not eligible. Or a couple making $200,000, it'll taper off to $250,000. So there is some tax credit available if you make more money than that. So it's important that you don't leave money on the table. If you think, I'm not worried about it. You know what? It's money. It's money found. If you can use a credit and save yourself some money, you might as well do it.
Absolutely. See it tonight. Read about it tomorrow, but hear it now on Mottek On Money, live on 790 KBC. Lauren Fix is with us, editor-in-chief of Car Coach Reports and co-host of the Total Car Score podcast. If this is getting someone's attention, Lauren Fix, what's your guidance on buying an EV these days? What stands out to you to get the best deal here?
Well, the best thing you can do is lease. If you purchase an electric vehicle, you'll note from a lot of different websites that the resale value on electric vehicles is very low, even in California. So if you're thinking about buying a used one, take advantage of that $4,000 tax credit because somebody else is taking a huge financial hit. We're watching as much as 60 to 70% of the value of that vehicle dropping off. So getting a used one might be a good idea. I highly recommend sticking with the brand. If it's a Honda, go to a Honda dealership. And speaking of which, Honda is no longer making their ADX, which is an Acura. It was a one-year vehicle, so you should be able to get some really good deals. The dealers are going to want to get rid of those immediately. Essentially, they're General Motors vehicles with Honda badging. That's also the Honda Prologue. Those are coming to a quick end. They're one-year vehicles. That doesn't mean that's not a bad thing. That means that you could actually get some great deals on new cars and also certified pre-owned vehicles. That is something I'd highly recommend looking at. And there's other great products out there. Remember, Tesla is still the #1 electric vehicle sold in North America. Second would be Hyundai. There's going to be some great deals going on there as well. And we also are seeing a lot of good deals happening at Ford with like the Mach-E and the Ford Lightning truck. It all depends upon what you need and if you want an electric vehicle.
Very interesting. Excellent information there, Lauren. We appreciate it. And what are some of the risks of buying a used EV? It's expensive to replace that battery, right? And have you heard of some nightmare scenarios there? Tell us more about that.
I have heard of some nightmare scenarios of people that have purchased cars that are used from either a used car lot or from an independent buyer on something like Bring a Trailer or, Cars and Bids, something like that. And then they find that there's a problem. The dealer's not going to stand behind it. Some of these are transferable warranties. Some are not. Again, that's why you buy from the dealer brand. So if you're looking at a Ford, go to a Ford dealer. You're looking at a Honda, go to a Honda dealer. Don't just get something offline because you're going to end up getting stuck with that gigantic bill. I'm hearing horror stories of anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000. A car isn't worth that much. And just like buying a used phone off of eBay, you don't know how that person used it. Did they have an accident? Was it charged and then constantly kept on a charge? These batteries like to cycle, just like your phone. It wants to go from 100 to 0 and then recharge. Most of us don't do that, and that includes myself. But it's important to note that you need to go to a place where the warranty is transferable so you don't get stuck with a very large bill from a repair shop.
All right, you don't want to buy a used Fisker, right? They're not making them anymore. The dealerships are gone.
Oh, no, that would be a huge mistake buying a Fisker. There is no parts available. There is no service available. And everyone that has one, has purchased one, there's going to be some problems. A lot of the center screens aren't working. We're hearing lots of stories with that. You can get them very low price. I've heard them as low as $9,000. But when that center screen dies, you can't even tell if the charge is full. So be very aware of car brands that are going out of business. It may sound like you're getting a great deal for a short period of time. Like anything, if you were to buy a phone and the phone wasn't available any longer, you won't be able to get repairs or any sort of maintenance on it.
Well, you're coming out for the LA Auto Show. That'll be here before you know it in November, right?
I will. I will be out there for the World Car of the Year Awards, so I'll be out your way early. And then, of course, I'll stay for the media days at the auto show. We're expecting to see some exciting cars, lots of new products, and car brands are starting to bring back gasoline and hybrid cars, and this is good for everybody.
Well, we have a lot to talk about, and then we're going to the Tesla Diner, right, while you're here? Remember, you promised.
Absolutely.
All right.
I promise. That would be worthwhile for sure.
Terrific. Lauren, thank you very much for joining us live here. That is Lauren Fix, editor-in-chief of Car Coach Reports and co-host of the Total Car Score podcast, live with us here in car-conscious Southern California, live here on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC. Stocks pulling back for the third day in a row, coming off of record highs earlier this week. The Dow came in for a closing loss of 174 points at 45,947. The S&P 500 down 33 at 6605, and the NASDAQ down 113 points at 22,385. The yield in the 10-year note is all the way back up to 4.17%. Stay tuned now for the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang, and I'll be back with more at 4 tomorrow afternoon. And also stay tuned this evening at 6 for the Just Help One radio show and podcast presented by the Union Rescue Mission. Tomorrow is going to be a big day. We'll be broadcasting live. In fact, John Phillips, Randy Wang, and yours truly will be broadcasting live from the Union Rescue Mission Just Help One Over the Edge event over at the Universal Hilton. I'll be going over the edge tomorrow morning. You'll hear all about that tomorrow afternoon right here. Stay tuned, 790 KABC.
Headed to SoFi Stadium? Skip the traffic and ride the Culver City Bus Line 99, the SoFi Express, your direct $2 base fare round-trip ride from the Culver City Transit Center at Westfield, Culver City. Buses run on weekend game days every 20 minutes starting 3 hours before kickoff, with return service beginning at the start of the third quarter. And guess what else? We're hiring. Join our team and help keep the community moving. Visit culvercitybus.com or call 310-253-6500 for info on your next ride to the game or maybe your next job.